All right, welcome back. So yesterday I'd done this video with regards to the Black Plague, and I was just thinking I had never gone down this rabbit hole, and many of you may already know this. I don't know this. I'd never looked into it, and I don't know this. So I started looking at the plague, and it had come to my attention. I just thought about it. I said, wait a second. It seems that the plague seems to follow kind of the same pattern of where the Jews were being expelled and all of that. So, it just made me look into it and think of it. I said, boy, that's odd that all of this kind of went down at the same time. So then I go and I pull up a map of what, I've looked at what countries were affected by how, by who, and everything. This was a map that I had found with regards to the outbreaks. And they've added some modern boundaries, if you notice here, for reference. These are the cities with the outbreaks, how it spread. And then if you look here, it tells you basically how it went down. But if you notice this little gray spot here, relatively unaffected. Those of you who aren't familiar with your geography, that is Poland / Lithuania, Ukraine area. Okay? I mean, you almost have the line that, this is insane that you would put that right on the line, basically, of where this is, unaffected, all right? Look at this. I mean, you're talking about all of Europe completely surrounded. Has been millions and millions and millions of people, they say, were killed by this, quote, plague. Well, they were killed by a plague, but not the same plague we've been told about for the last 600 years, all right? So this plague originated in Poland and then went outward from there. And of course, there's it's no secret that, Poland was a haven, is a haven, and that's, Polish-Lithuanian community is the heart of this evil for the most part. And so, you can go and look through. There's plenty of information to find out about that. So, but one particular thing that stood out to me was there was a book. Well, this came up, and I said, the Black Death, and it all started to click, and then I started to see things, and all you got to do is just, again, you scratch a liar, find a thief. That means you just ask one or two little questions, and then bang, you reveal what the hell's going on, right? So I ordered a book. Let me see if I can find it here. Hang on. All right, here it is. I ordered this book. It's called The Black Death. This is basically filled with documents of, let me see if it's in here, but really it's filled with many of the documents from the time. All right. So, and we're going to scroll down to page 200, in that area of 200 or so. Like I said, I've ordered this book, so I'm going to go and check it out. Oh, come on. Oh, it doesn't show me all the pages, so that's a problem, part of the problem. All right, but let's go look. Human agency, all right? Look at this, well poisoning. Now, these are transcripts from actual letters, you can see the sources here, when they took place, his chronicles, and, so these are people telling basically what they feel had happened. And many, many, many Jews, thousands and thousands of Jews were put to death for this, for poisoning wells, spring waters, to kill Christians all over, to wipe out Christians all over Europe. Okay? This is why they were being burned at the stake on September, look at 330, we all know about the 33, right? But, this is insane, but all of these go into, let me find one thing for you. Hold on a sec. All right, here it is. So, and many Jews confessed as much under torture that they had bred spiders, toads, and pots and pans, and had obtained poison from overseas, and then not every Jew knew about it as a witness, only the more powerful ones, so that it doesn't become betrayed. So that it would not be betrayed. As evidence of this heinous crime, Men say that bags full of poison were found in many wells and springs as a result in cities, so on and so forth. They ended up, if you read on and on, they blocked off a lot of the wells. They block off all the springs from people using them. They say that, during the winter time, the plague, many of the locals thought the plague had gone away, if you will, because of winter time, but then it came back up at the springtime. That's because the water was frozen, ice was frozen. That's what it boils down to. And they say this is God's vengeance for exiling Jews, and it's just garbage. But I'm looking for one particular thing. Hold on, sorry. Okay, this is the part I was looking for. So these are confessions. There's a few confessions in here. I think there was a total of 11 confessions in here on Friday, October 10th. Blah, blah, blah. They were shown to be guilty of trying to kill Christians by poisoning springs, wells, and other things used by them were accordingly punished. Okay, this was the guy's name, a Jew who had been staying at Geneva and was imprisoned in the castle there, was put briefly to the question, and then afterwards, after a long interval, he was put to the question again, this time to a moderate extent, whereupon he confessed in the presence of many credible witnesses that things unfolded below. Firstly, so basically he goes on to say that a rabbi, this rabbi here, Peret, realized he would see their skip pages, so I bought the book. Realized that there were this guy's going out there, and he basically had this plan. After a long interval, the rabbi and Chembri, and one day the rabbi called him and took him to a chamber and said, "Look, here's poison in a paper cornet. Take it and put it in the well of whatever near the house of Rabbi Peret," and ordered him under pain of excommunication to do this, and so poison the people who drink the water and not to tell anybody. All right. They did this many, you can go and look at this. You don't have to take my word for it. Many Jews confessed to this. Okay. And then so once they realized they had a confession, they started mailing letters out, and all these letters are transcribed. Started mailing out letters to surrounding towns, countries, realizing, rumors are da-da-da-da-da. And it's turning out, yep, we got one here. Yep, we checked our streams and look what we found. Look, and so it goes on and on. They emptied many of the wells and so on. So this stuff, we've been lied to, of course, as we all know. You go and you look and read this, they'll tell you how, they just wanted to persecute the Jews because they owed them debt, and listen, people aren't just born with hate. All right, there's a reason behind it. One last thing so I can cap this off. I want you guys to all do your own research, but the Protocols of Learned Elders of Zion, I think, is something you should read. Some say it's a forgery. Some say, but whatever. The reality is if it is a forgery, it was written by somebody that knew something, and somehow it applies then as it does today, and we continue to go by this forgery, if you will. But it seems to apply today, and it continues. So in this part, there's an extra section of the Protocols that reads this, and this is from 1492. A chief rabbi of Spain wrote to the Grand Sendar, which had its seat in Constantinople, for advice when Spanish law threatened expulsion. This was the reply. Okay, one rabbi wrote another rabbi in Constantinople, who was really the head of the Jewry, if you will. And he says, look, this is what's going on. What should we do? This is really, 100 years. This is still within the Black Plague time period, but, this is within 100 years of after it's starting. So let me get to this. Hold on. Okay, so if you look at what it says is, "Beloved brethren in Moses, we have received your letter in which you tell us the anxieties and misfortunes which you are enduring. We are pierced by great pain to hear it as yourself. The advice of the Grand satraps and rabbis is as following. Okay, this is their advice, and this you can sum up the protocols in these six little things here. All right. As for what you say that the King of Spain obliges you to become Christians, do it, since you cannot do otherwise. As for what you say about the command to despoil you for your property, make your sons merchants, that they may despoil, little by little, the Christians of theirs. As for what you say about making attempts of your lives, make your sons doctors and apothecaries, that they may take away Christian lives. As for what you say of their destroying your synagogues, make your sons canons and clerics in order that they may destroy their churches. So it's pretty clear that their high rabbi is condoning the extermination of Christians throughout Europe. So this is not a big stretch, all right? This is not a big stretch. Go and read this, and this is an awesome book. I started reading it, but it cut me off the pages, this Black Death book. I just bought one, used copy. I want to read it because this has a lot of stuff in it, Many confessions, many of their writings. And back then in that period of time, they knew it was not a plague. They knew it was not a disease. They knew it was poison. All right. And you know how they knew? These people weren't being affected, yet everybody else was. And not only that, they tell you they found bags of poison on them. They found bags of poison in the streams. They found bags of poison in the wells, And as soon as they exiled these people out of their towns or killed them or burned them at the stake, so went the plague. So look, the Black Plague is very much just another attempt at international Jewry to wipe out the human race. All right. People aren't just born with this, quote, hate of Jews, all right? This is hundreds of thousands of years of disdain, resentment for this bullshit. For bullshit like this. 100% the Jews are responsible for murdering 50 million Christians in this time period. They say in some villages, 1,000 people a day died. Poisoning. Nowhere will you find this in the history books. It all talks, now today they want to say, lice jumped from head to head. That killed 1,000 people a day in a village. Really? No. Let me tell you something. This is going on, and we got another 500-year swing that these people are going to start being burned at the stake again, and I think we're right on the cusp of that. So, anytime, folks. That's about it, people. Peace out. The Black Plague was actually a plague not caused by any animal, that's for sure. Caused by the plague that is the plague. Peace out, folks.
أن الكيان الصهيوني قام بجمع الفئران المصابة بداء الطاعون من دولة النرويج، وبعد ذلك بعد أن جمعها أطلقها بجميع المحافظات المصرية القريبة من منطقة سيناء. وحسب ما ذكرته بعض المصادر المصرية، وكانت هذه العملية طبعا في عام 1967، فإن هذه الفئران ما زالت موجودة وبكثرة جدا. طبعا السبب في ذلك أنها سريعة التناسل ولها تأثير كبير على المحاصيل الزراعية، بحيث تلتهم هذه المحاصيل بسرعة كبيرة جدا، إضافة إلى تخريب مخازن الحبوب، ولم يسلم منها حتى الأطفال. فكثيرا ما تقضم هذه الفئران أطراف الأطفال. وأضافت تلك المصادر أن الكيان الصهيوني منذ بداية تطبيع العلاقات مع القاهرة نجحت في تهريب أسمدة كيميائية وبذور فاسدة أدت إلى تخريب مساحات شاسعة واسعة من التربة والمحاصيل الزراعية في مصر. هي عملية استراتيجية مدروسة لها أبعاد وقتية ولها أبعاد طويلة الأثر، ولكن الهدف هو واضح، هو القضاء على الوطن العربي. لماذا يهدف الكيان الصهيوني إلى إيجاد أنواع جديدة من أسلحة الدمار الشامل وخصوصا الأسلحة البيولوجية؟ لماذا؟ ولماذا تنتج هذه المعاهد الكثير من البكتيريا والفيروسات والتي من شأنها أن تؤدي إلى تدمير الإنسان وتفشي فيه الأوبئة كالبكتيريا وباء الطاعون الدمني الذي سمي في القرون الوسطى بالموت الأسود، والمرض المعدي والقاتل واسمه فيروس أيبولا، وهي تعمل على تطوير هذا النوع من البكتيريا. وللأسف سخر الكيان الصهيوني التطور العلمي والتكنولوجي لخدمة شروره ولإشباع غريزته الإجرامية.